Oh, many pounds, many pounds. No, I just bring them in.
I know.
People bring me stuff. Somebody named Angie Jorstad brought me plastic too, I just gotta say. And then people say, yeah, my son's gonna bring some. And then, so I have to check the door all the time. Oh, many pounds. Yeah, right. So, yeah.
Yesterday was from like 5 different people. Every time I go to someone's house, I just collect all their trash.
Pretty much. It's really been fun though. And I think Jean would agree that anything that lifts us up here for the museum is a good thing, right?
You know it.
It's been very
Looks like
uplifting.
we're live on YouTube.
Okay.
Yep,
Really, it's a community effort to keep Mary busy and out of trouble.
Not working. They keep trying. They keep trying.
She has way too much energy to keep her out of trouble.
just making sure I'm getting everybody here. I think that's Steve Ewing.
Voila.
There he is. I don't see Sean yet.
Now we're missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, just Sean. Have we heard anything from Sean if he's going to be on time, or he comes out of a meeting right before this, right?
Health District got over a little bit early, so unless he has something in between that meeting and here.
Okay. Give him another minute.
What's
here.
between those two meetings is the trestle.
This is true.
The trestle does have $1.8 billion in the current transportation package.
Yeah, well, that's the Senate side. It's only got 839 on the other side, so they got to get together on that.
They do. Well, I'm sure he will join us in just a minute, but it's 6:01. So let's go ahead and start this city council regular meeting. It's Tuesday, April 13th, 2021 at 6 o'clock, and this meeting is being held via Zoom. It is also being broadcast on YouTube and recorded there for future recall if folks would like to take a look at it. So with that, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, and I would ask all to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, which stands one nation, under
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and we got Sean. Cool. So with that, let's have a roll call, Kelly.
Councilmember Daughtry,
I'm here, thank you.
Councilmember Peter Shagan,
Present.
Councilmember Frederick,
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson. You're muted, but I see your mouth moving. Councilmember Jorstad,
I'm here.
Councilmember Ewing,
Present.
Councilmember Tagent.
Present.
Excellent, thank you, Kelly. And let's get an approval of the agenda, Council President.
Right, there are some changes to the agenda already. One of the things we're going to do is move guest business right up after the approval of the agenda, which is bringing in Representative Lubbock and Representative Berg to give us an update from Olympia. And then we're having a BIPOC presentation directly after that. And one other thing that will be removed from the consent agenda is item D, amendment to the agreement with WashDOT for the SR9 and South Lake Stevens Road roundabout. Due to some changes that did not make it in time for our meeting. Are there any other requests for changes to the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda with those changes as stated.
Moved by
Second.
Councilmember Jorstad and seconded by Councilmember Dickinson. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Passed unanimously. Mr. Mayor, you have an agenda.
Excellent. Thank you, President. So with that, I would like to welcome in the room, virtual room, Representative Lovick and Representative Berg for an update from Olympia. How are you two?
We're doing great. How are you guys doing? Sounds like you guys are having a great time. I am in Olympia. This is our 93rd day. I hope I'm not on mute. This is our 93rd day. We have 12 days left, but who's counting, right? We think it has been a very, very successful session. I was just speaking with a lobbyist on my way to this meeting, and he was talking about all of the things that we did. Just so you'll know, we passed 216 bills out of the House of Representatives. The Senate passed 20 bills over to us, and we think the process is going busy. I want to start by thanking you for having the BIPOC meeting tonight. I'm going to stay on and listen to that meeting. And I also want to thank your police chief, Chief Dwyer. I called him with a day's notice and asked to meet with him because we were dealing with a lot of police accountability things. And I confessed right up front that we probably should have spent more time speaking with the stakeholders, the experts, the subject matter experts. And he was so knowledgeable. It was just great because he actually helped me go back and make some changes in some of the pieces of legislation that we were working on. So I just really want to give him a big hand. He's just talk about a real, I was a trooper, but he's a trooper. He's a real trooper. I mean that in a very, very nice way. And I always start every conversation out by telling people I wish them peace, patience, and kindness. And for that day, he was one of the kindest people I had met today, and I will never forget the great time we had talking. So as far as the legislature is going, I'll just talk about a few of the things. And April is kind of the numbers person. she's just, I will talk with her about stuff and she'll rattle off all these numbers. But I'm going to just tell you about some of the things that we're pleased with, the work that you guys have done to help get us to where we are. One of the things that we're happy that we have money in the budget. I'll start with the capital budget. We have money in the capital budget to address the early learning library, to address the Snow Owl Regional County Library there, $1.1 million. The Civic Center, we put money in the books that you guys wanted. We made sure that we kept them almost $840 million in the transportation budget, but that's something that we're negotiating. I think Hobbs has, what did you say it was, $1.8 million in his budget? I can't.
1.8 in the Senate budget.
1.8 in the Senate budget, and we're going to talk about those things. If you recall, when we met a few weeks ago, we were looking at 400 million, and those things are going to change quite a bit. But I would say, with respect to what we are doing as a legislature and what we have accomplished, under the virtual environment that we're in, I could not be more pleased with all of the things that we've done. And I'm really, really pleased to have such a dynamic seatmate that can go out there. And she has been able to pass more bills in her first year than I was able to get in my first 4 years in the legislature. So I'll have her talk about those. But I'm just going to share with you just a couple of quick things that I know you are going to want to talk about. The Blake decision. What I can tell you about the Blake decision is we just had a meeting on it, and both chambers are working on legislation to fix the criminal law statute. And we're also going to have a budget that will address treatment, outreach, and case management. But I'm just asking all of the cities to just be patient with us. I'm kind of an Eisenhower fan where he says, don't be in a big rush to do the wrong thing too soon. And so I believe we should wait and do this in a deliberative way and get it done right. So with that, I will stop and yield to my good friend, Rep. Berg.
Thank you so much, Rep. Lovick. And I'm Representative April Berg. I am so happy to be here tonight, my first time addressing you in this new position for me. So Rep. Lovick does a fantastic job about talking about all the bills and the great stuff we've done this session. And to be honest, the legislature, much like the city, probably thought, gosh, how are we going to do this virtually and get what we need done? And I will tell you, we have done it better than anyone could have thought. And so we've passed more bills. We've made some really great progress in really important areas. And I'll just cover a few of them. My hat right now is education. as well as finance. I'm the vice chair of finance. And the bills that I put forward, I kind of call them my moonshot bills because they were changing fundamentally things that we had done the same way for years in our state. The first being lunch copays for your your reduced lunch students in your school district. Right now, those students pay about 40 cents per meal. Because of a bill that I was able to get passed, not only in the House, but in the Senate, it's on its way to the governor's desk. There will no longer be a lunch copay for reduced price students statewide. In addition to that, we're going to be able to have our menstruating individuals have the products they need, K-12, public and private, throughout the state, in addition to colleges, technical colleges, and community colleges. So that's a huge deal for our young women and our young folks who are menstruating. And so that was another passion project that's been tried for many years and finally got across the finish line. And then lastly, one of my bills that I love so much is my college and the high school bill. So your ninth graders in Lake Stevens now that are taking college and the high school, by law, they couldn't get college credit. And so starting this fall, they'll be able to get the college credit they've been working so hard for. And so I saw so many students come out from districts across the 44 to testify for that bill, talking about the credit they had been denied year after year. And so we are going to be able to change that for students coming in this fall. And then lastly, I had a bill that is another one that might be of interest to you, which is for fire district commissions. It's going to be, now you're going to be able to go from 5 to 7 members on a fire district commission. So for years, it had been 3 to 5 members or 3 to 7 members. But if you wanted to grow in cities like Mill Creek, like Lake Stevens, like Marysville that are growing, it was really hard to have to go back to voters and go back to 3 to get to 7. So now we can do the logical thing and go from 5 to 7 commissioners with voter approval. So that's just a couple of things that I've been working on personally. Another big project, because Rep. Lovick mentioned some of the capital budget items for Lake Stevens, and I tell you, Lake Stevens lit up the board on both the House side and the Senate side. Not only did you get the fantastic early learning library, the Civic Center on the Senate side, but of course, Sherwood Community Centers. That's an amazing program by Lance Morehouse. So we've got some funding in there for their COVID relief program. But then also another project that's going to affect the entire county is the Snohomish County Food and Farming Center. So that way our farmers throughout the county will have some place in Snohomish County to process their wares and sell their food. And so this means a 7,000 square foot processing center, a 4,500 square foot commercial kitchen, and a year-round farmers market that will not compete with your beautiful Lake Stevens farmers market. This is going to be something, again, county-wide, but it's going to really, I think, make our other smaller farmers markets more robust because people are going to know they have lots of options for fresh fruits and vegetables from local farmers, and it's just amazing. So that got funded in both the House and the Senate capital budgets, and of course the governor's budget. So we'll be seeing that break ground really, really soon. And then, like Rep. Lovick said, we've got some other amazing legislation dealing with criminal justice reform, as well as progressive tax reforms. One in particular that we passed, a really important bill out of finance right out the gate, was so that folks that were getting pandemic support and grants do not have to pay B&O taxes. We wanted to make sure our small businesses were taken care of from day one. So we've been just really using that lens of what makes sense for communities, what helps our small businesses, and how can we get quicker to economic recovery as well as COVID recovery. So with that, I could go on all day, but I want to hear questions. A lot of what we do is talk to city councils and hear directly from you. And so I'd love to just kind of open it up for some questions.
Can I just say this before we take a question? I again want to thank your police chief, because you guys probably know there's really a lot of mistrust, distrust, a lot of stress in the communities right now with the communities. And I'm not just talking about the Black communities, the minority communities. I'm talking about the marginalized communities and the law enforcement community. And I'm really, really liking that your police chief is focused on accountability. And I always tell people, how do you know when a police department is doing a great job? When you don't see them in the front page every day, when you don't see them out there doing the things that we see, they just do their work, go home and protect us. And that's what I like about the approach that your police department, in particular your police chief, is doing. So with that, love to take any questions.
And one thing I did want to mention, just in case this is going to be a question for later, and I think Rep. Levitt covered it a little bit, but you have an amazing community that's diversifying every single day. And it sounds like on the agenda tonight, you're going to be looking at a diversity, equity, inclusion, and access commission. And you're going to be joining great cities across the 44th, as well as across the region, to take up that work in a really meaningful and important way. So I'm excited to see their presentation tonight. I'm sure all of you are as well. I can't tell you how much I am so excited about Lake Stevens taking on this challenge to be really, really inclusive of the beautiful diversity that's moving in each and every day into your gorgeous city. So I just love that, and makes me smile.
And I'll just say this, last thing I'll say, we want questions. One of the things that we get to do is we get to sit in our caucus with 55 other members, and it's so much fun to go back to our caucus and tell them that we met with you. When I went to our caucus and told them that I've met with all of you, so we're gonna shut up and listen. Any questions about anything, we'd love to answer. Promise I won't say a word, zipping my mouth.
I have a quick question. Representatives Berg and Lovick, thanks so much for taking the time to be here tonight and sharing a little peek into your work and what you've been doing the last couple of months. Much appreciated. The Blake decision is something that we've talked about here on council. We passed a resolution a few meetings back to address one of the gaps that decision has left in our city. Is there, Representative Lovick, can you share any additional information about, you'd said there's work being done to kind of shore up that decision, but also funding around treatment and case management. Is there more information you could share about that?
Well, so let me just say this, because a lot of the things that we discuss them in caucus, like you discuss things in executive session. I would prefer not to talk about, I will just simply say there's a range of things that we're looking at doing, probably from decriminalizing and just leaving it at that to the other extreme. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to do it the right way. We're trying to make sure that at a minimum, there's treatment. We're going to put a lot of dollars into treatment. We're going to put a lot of dollars into outreach and case management. Those are the things that we want to do, but what the final product is going to be, I don't know. I will say that we have one of the most talented people in Roger Goodman, and April is working with it, and a lot of our members are working on this policy. And I think we're going to come up with something that hopefully the community will be pleased with. But we're trying to avoid just doing something in a hurry.
Yeah, and I would echo that to Councilmember Jorstad. And it's a great question, because I think as we focus on the Blake decision and really the conversations that we were having before Blake, right? Like, so these are conversations that cities and counties were having even before that decision really took us by surprise. But the real big key is recovery, right? Like helping folks where they are. And so that's still a conversation that's still top of mind in everything we're doing. And it was that way before Blake, because we know if we don't help in that recovery, we got to get folks into the services, right? We've got to get them engaged and doing that outreach. We have to get them treatment, but we have to help them and walk hand in hand with them to recovery, because as a city leader, what happens when that doesn't happen, when that piece falls by the wayside, when you let go of someone's hand too soon. So that's definitely something that we're thinking of as legislators. And we're just really asking, if not begging cities, to just give us a little bit more time, give us another, 12 days to figure this out, so that we don't have a patchwork of different laws and decisions across the county and really across the state that will just do nothing but confuse folks.
Thank you both. Appreciate it.
As I walked away with is when I was speaking with the chief.
Lost him.
I think we lost Rep. Lovick. Okay. He'll pop back on. I know he will. But is there another question we can kind of come back to that answer? Mayor Gailey, do you want me to call on folks, or do you want to call on folks?
I'll go ahead. Gary, go ahead.
Somehow I got disconnected, I guess.
Thank you, Representative Berg. Just a couple of quick questions. You mentioned the Snohomish County Food and Farmers Co-op, I guess you might. Whereabouts is that going to be located? And the second question, the motivation behind the increasing the fire district board members to 7 members, was there a stimulus from the fire districts for that, or? just the motivation behind that.
Yeah, those are two fantastic questions. Thank you so much for asking them. So first off, with the food and Snohomish County Food and Farming Center, that'll be located at McCullum Park. So it's on land that the city already owns, which is a fantastic deal. And so the county is going to come in there. It'll be in phases. So that phase one is going to really be focusing on the processing plant, and it might be a little bit of the commercial kitchen. The ending phase, phase three, will include that year-round farmers market. So that's a little ways out, but that initial funding will kind of start the ball rolling. Your second question about the fire districts, fantastic question. It was a request by the fire departments, and this does not mandate 7. So right now in current statute, you can have 3 members, and then you can, as your city or as your district grows, you can build up to 5 or to 7, and that's by voter approval. So that we're not mandating or saying you have to go to 7 or you have to go to 5. But unfortunately, the way the statute was written, you could legally only go from 3 members to 5 or from 3 to 7. So there was that missing step. So let's say you were at 5 and you grew, you wanted to ask voters for approval to get to 7. You couldn't. You'd actually have to go back to 3 and then jump to 7. So my bill basically just cleaned it up. I always say, my mom with 6 kids, I walk in a room, I just want to see it clean. That's it. So when I looked at this, I was like, this makes no sense. So we basically just cleaned it up. So now you can go from 3 to 5, 5 to 7, or of course, 3 to 7 if you want as well. So just a cleanup in statute, nothing mandated, all still local control, and it would have to be by voter approval.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sean, did you have a question?
I did, and I want to thank Representative Berg and Representative Lovick for coming and spending some time with us today. And I think everybody knows I kind of stay focused on COVID, and I just want to ask about any considerations that have been happening towards the recovery aspects. Not that we're in a recovery phase by any means, but funding or conversations that might be happening towards recovery for our local businesses in the communities that have been impacted by COVID over the past now 15 months or so here in Snohomish County. So just welcome any comments or any feedback in that regard.
That's a great question. I think Rep. Lovick, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, why don't I just, Representative Frederick, why don't I just go through just a lot of the things. I will tell you that our $58 billion budget obviously has $8 billion in the budget from the American Rescue Plan. And I can go over things like $2 billion in federal grants to help schools address the learning loss, $1 billion to help fighting the pandemic, including vaccinations, millions and millions of dollars in other things like affordable housing. All of those things are important, and I could go through more of them. I see where there's $425 million for essential infrastructure, including $227 million for public works assistance account. We are spending money. And frankly, this is one time that I'm very, very pleased that we came out of this with all of that we had to deal with. We came out of this in pretty decent shape, and we are spending money in those areas that we need to spend it in. And I think the city of Lake Stevens, all of the cities in our state counties are going to benefit from the great work that we're doing. And it's not that we're doing, it's about the great work that you guys are doing. You guys are, I will say, cities, counties are held in pretty high esteem because of your outreach and because of the great work that you're doing. And obviously, I know, Councilman Frederick, the goal is to come back stronger than we went out, and I think we're going to.
Yeah, and just to kind of just exactly what Rep. Lovick said, the money's coming, right? So we've got a lot of infusion of money from the feds. You're going to see just a really robust state budget once we finish getting our issues worked out with the Senate. But really, what we're focusing on, I think, in terms of mindset, right, is that consumer confidence. Because what we saw, and we've seen this through the pandemic, and Councilmember Frederick, you know this better than anyone in your role, is that if folks don't feel safe, right, if they don't feel like they can be safe and healthy, they're not going to go shop and eat and drink. And so I think our state has done a really, really good job of carefully measured approach to safety that then affects consumer confidence. So even as we see our schools reopening, right, that's going to affect small businesses. I can tell you as a mom, we have spent a little bit of money on back to school shopping and backpacks and it's April, right? And so that was we're confident my kiddo is going to be back in a classroom, even though it's hybrid, but B, I feel like folks are getting getting vaccinated at the right rate? Our state has a great vaccine finder where people are finding the vaccines when and where they need them. And again, that's going to make me pull out my wallet a little bit more in my local community because I feel better about the direction we're heading. So I think as leaders and as legislators, we're looking at the nuts and bolts. We're looking at the dollars and cents saying, how can we help you more as a community? But we're also being really mindful of, you got to feel like things are going better. You got to feel like there's a reason to go shop. And of course, the big incentive for everyone is shopping locally, right? Like getting out in your local community, like Lake Stevens, to say, I want to spend my dollars where my house is. So I think there's going to be a real shift. I think there's going to be a good sweet spot because folks are still working from home and being more in their local community. The kids are going back to school. Things are feeling normal. Now let's eat out more. Let's shop more. Let's do more. So that's, the nuts and bolts of it, but also that human side of it. So I'm excited about where we're going.
I want to say thank you both. I really appreciate the focus on the consumer confidence. Definitely recognize that that's the key. Even if you open up, you have to have people willing to take advantage of going out to those services. There are a lot of restaurants that even though they have the option and the ability, they're still being used under capacity. So definitely everything that's being done in that capacity to make sure that people feel safe and are willing to go out as appropriate and make sure that they're keeping their dollars close to home is definitely appreciated so that we can keep our businesses or get our businesses back to normal. And then as Representative Lovick said, get them further than they were when we went into this thing.
Yeah, and Sean, Representative Councilman Fredericks, what we call that, and I call it in my business, the double duty dollar. People are making dollars in your community, spending it right there, and it's just getting double duty. So thanks for the question. And we're working very, very hard, and I know you guys are too.
Any other questions, Mary?
Yeah, first of all, I want to do a huge shout out for your help with the early learning program in Lake Stevens and our Civic Center. That was so exciting to hear that was going to be put in our direction. Early learning is so critical, and you see it every day now. The kids have been stuck at home. So I'm really grateful for that. And also I want to do a shout out to our Chief of Police. Chief Dyer is amazing. You're absolutely right. And but I'm also glad about the Blake decision. I want to thank you for that. I don't really have any questions except soldier on, everybody, soldier on.
Any other questions? All right, I'm not seeing any others. Representative Berg and Representative Lovick, appreciate your
Thank
time.
you, Councilman Dixon. Before you were on the council.
Oh, go ahead, Representative Lovick. Did we lose you?
No, I was just going to say that.
Now we lost you.
Oh, darn it. Okay, he might pop back on, but yeah, go ahead.
He's pretty quick at popping back on.
Oh, there we go.
All right, we got you back.
I'm good to go. I was just going to say that Councilmember Dixon and I had a conversation about this early learning library many years ago, probably about 3 years ago. And so thank you guys for having us. We really appreciate it.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you both for coming. I know you guys have a lot on your agenda, and I will say that the City of Lake Stevens is very appreciative of your work in all the great work that you guys are doing back there in Olympia, and also in helping to bring some of that money that we send to Olympia back to Lake Stevens. That's the key.
Now, can I just briefly comment on the wonderful staff you have? I really want to just really commend the staff. It's just great people. And I've known Doug Levy for so many years, but there are times that he'll text me and email me at not 5, but early in the morning. And you really have a great staff, and people you're represented quite well, held in high esteem. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah, I agree with your representative. And Doug and I have 5:30 a.m. conversations over text as well. That's when we are up. So good stuff. Hey, well, have a great evening. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you. It's great to see everyone. Love Lake Stevens, and thanks for having us.
So how do I get back on for the BIPOC meeting? Do I just stay here?
We'll put you out into the panel, into the attendees, and then we'll bring in the BIPOC folks.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay, so with that, Kelly, can we bring in the folks needed for that presentation?
Yes. Let me
Let everybody know, we also have Mayor Naring from Marysville coming in with the BIPOC presentation.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, give me just a moment here. I've got a list of people. Let me bring in Jessica and Stephanie. Carrie. Okay, so I've got Carrie and I've got Lindsay and Jessica and John. I'm not seeing Stephanie Steele. Is she on? Jessica, do you want to let me know if there's anybody else that I need to bring in? I don't see Stephanie.
I will check. Oh,
Bring in Jason Smith.
Jason Smith? Okay.
And Kelly, I do see a Stephanie with her hand up with no last name. Is that possible?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think because she had her hand up, she went to the top of the list. So okay, let's see if this is, I have a Stephanie Meyer, but I just let in just Stephanie.
it would either be Stephanie Steele or Stephanie. Here
I
she
think
is.
I'm here. Thanks, guys.
Oh, great.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Okay.
And then is Lindsay able to get sharing capability for screen?
Thank you.
So I do see a hand up from Stephanie Meyer, but I think that maybe for citizen comment, unless I hear otherwise. So we'll go ahead and leave that right now.
So Jessica, do we have everybody?
We do. Yes. Thank you.
All right. I am turning the floor over to you then, my friend. Go ahead.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm Stephanie Steele, and I'm a community member of Lake Stevens and part of the Lake Stevens Allies for BIPOC group. And I'll be presenting here today with the other executive board members. And first, I want to give a special thanks to Mayor for prioritizing this topic on today's agenda and providing space for us to share our findings and a proposal for a DEIA commission. And I'd also like to secondly give special thanks to City Council members Angie, Kim, Sean, Mary, and Gary for meeting with us on an individual level. And we were able to hold one-on-one discussions with each of those City Council members and kind of build on the discussion and have some new value-added learnings. So it was a great opportunity, and I appreciate their participation up front. And yeah, so if you want to go next, great. So I'll just quickly go over the content. We really want to just share a couple minutes about who we are. I know there has been interest in learning more about us, and we've, been learning more about City Council. And we also want to touch on, getting aligned on what DEIA means. So we'll do a little bit of common language sharing. And also we'll go over our proposal for a commission and have some time for Mayor Nearing to speak a little bit on how having an advisory board has had some benefits for him in Marysville. So that is our content.
I had to unmute myself. Sorry about that. We wanted to take a moment to introduce our organization and the individuals presenting this. Tonight, we're presenting is Jessica, Stephanie, Carrie, and myself, Lindsay. We're all volunteers with the Lake Stevens Allies for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color, BIPOC, which is a local advocacy organization. And our mission is to promote and advance the cause of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access within Lake Stevens and Snohomish County. Our aim is to make sure that all voices are at the table when decisions are made, and that the impact for them is the community and quality of life. We have an executive board as well as an advisory board. Jessica, Stephanie, Carrie, myself, Joy, and Valdon are on the executive board. And their advisory board is made up of BIPOC individuals, including Dr. Nina Kim Hansen, Joyce Copley, Helen Taylor, Stephanie Meyer, and Lisa Grunt. So as Stephanie mentioned, we wanted to make sure that we all had a common language about what is DEI&A before we go on with our presentation. Diversity is the variation of social and cultural identities among people existing together in a specific space. Equity is the process of developing as well as supporting policies and procedures that distribute and prioritize resources to those who have been historically and currently marginalized. Inclusion is intentionally designed, active, and ongoing engagement with people that ensures opportunities and pathways for participation in all aspects of group, organization, or community, including decision-making processes. And access is when people have meaningful access to services, programs, and activities. We also want to talk a little bit about our research and outreach prior to this presentation. So this has been kind of a year in the making, but specifically in the last 6 months, we spent a lot of time researching best practices and talking to other local cities that have DEI&A initiatives. We've met with several Snohomish County-wide stakeholders, including Arlington, Everett, Mukilteo, Edmonds, Snohomish, Granite Falls, and Marysville. And then we also reached out to the Beaverton, Oregon, because they have a well-established diversity advisory board. We also create our own advisory board made up of BIPOC individuals to gain insight into how a city commission would specifically positively benefit them. And we also, as Stephanie mentioned, met with 5 Lake Stevens City Council members one-on-one to gain more insight about how a commission would work for Lake Stevens.
Great, thanks, Lindsay. So yeah, so what we did here is just kind of highlighted that, you know, Lake Stevens is growing in number of BIPOC. And, you know, right now we have about 20%, but I think it's upwards more, but we're kind of being conservative on that. And, you know, it's starting to be comparable to our veterans community. And so we're excited. We think this means that, like, right now would be a really good time to start a city DEIA focus. And in addition to that, you know, we realize that the city has already done some really good work towards addressing diverse needs within our city, such as standing up a Veterans Commission and youth commissions underway, it sounded like. Also, the police chief has done some reviews of his policies and has even met with us to discuss some recommendations. So, you know, we appreciate that the city has done some really good work to date. And we are happy and excited to explore ways that we could be doing more and how do we get more people involved so that we can start bridging the gap for gaps that do exist between BIPOC and the city. So that's a little bit of why Lake Stevens, why now. I'm not going to read the bullets to you, but I guess I'll pause and just quickly ask any questions so far. All right, next slide.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Okay, great.
That was me. Sorry. Thank you.
Yep.
Lake Stevens can look to cities within Snohomish County, within Washington, and within the Pacific Northwest for examples of successful outcomes. These include the City of Edmonds Diversity Film Series. It's entering its 4th season, and the series presents a film related to different topics representing diverse populations and experiences. We can also look to Renton's Equity Lens, which is a systemic examination of how different social identity groups will likely be affected by actions and decisions. And then in a more robust sense, we can look to the Beaverton Night Market in Beaverton, Oregon, which is a very vibrant, intercultural, family-friendly event that is similar in style to international night markets. The event offers culturally relevant evening activities and a gathering space with ethnic food, crafts, and entertainment for families of all backgrounds. So Lake Stevens doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. We can pick and choose events and ideas that are the best fit for our cities and citizens. Next slide.
Yeah, so reasons for Lake Stevens to start a DEI and A City Commission. As Stephanie touched on a little bit earlier, our BIPOC community is growing. And so we actually have a really unique opportunity to stand something up that's a systemic level of representation for the BIPOC community as we continue to grow. As you can see on the map, we are one of the only cities that does not currently have that. And so it would be right in line with what our county is doing. You know, although there has been some progress, we still obviously know that racism is existing and continues to be a concern. The City Commission can serve as an ambassador to the BIPOC communities to be called upon if there are incidents that occur or if there is insight that is needed for city practices. As we found out in our research and checking in with other groups, it is actually fairly zero to low cost. Most commissions are comprised of community members and volunteer city officials. And ultimately, this DEI and A Commission is only set up to help our community with our growth and for us to propel ourselves to a higher level of welcoming for our community and awareness and representation. You know, as a commission, we do understand as well that it is there to influence and advise, but you know, obviously our city officials will be making decisions and we'll hopefully be using that insight to make the best decisions for our communities. Next slide.
So what's next? Obviously, we hand it over to the City Council to make this commission into a reality. And we believe the best steps beyond the construction of the commission would be to start with an assessment of how Lake Stevens is already addressing issues of DEIA and where there is growth potential. From there, the commission could explore best practices from other cities and lay down benchmarks that meet the needs of Lake Stevens. And then the commission could set their goals and create events, education and awareness campaigns, supporting diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. Next slide.
So with that concludes our presentation. Our next step is to move forward with a DEI and A commission to be set on the next City Council meeting for a vote. We also wanted to extend that if anyone in the public or anyone on the council itself wants to learn more about what we're doing or how to get involved, to please feel free to check us out on Facebook, or you can also reach us over email at Lake Stevens Allies 4 BIPOC@gmail.com. It is my pleasure now to introduce Mayor John Naring for some insight for his own community.
Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate that. Can everybody hear me okay? Well, I appreciate the opportunity. It's good to see good friends from Lake Stevens here, the mayor and the council and staff, and also really appreciate the opportunity that I've had to meet with Jessica and Lindsay, Carrie, and others on Friends of Lake Stevens BIPOC. We've had a couple of really good meetings, and then just looking at this presentation here that they gave you tonight, I can tell you that they've done a really great job organizing and setting the framework for what should be a very successful commission. I really think that the kind of the collaborative way and the methodical and thoughtful way they've gone about doing this is really commendable. And to have citizens in your community that are able to set it up and give the framework and hand it off to you like that, I think puts you ahead of a lot of communities, where a lot of communities were at the beginning stages. I wanted to just introduce Jason Smith too, who's on here. Jason is our City of Marysville Training and Community Outreach Administrator. We brought him on towards the end of, well, I think third, fourth quarter last year. Hired him, and he works right in the executive office, just across the way from me, and we talk pretty much every day. And Jason's a really, really critical member of our staff. And one of Jason's key to-dos was to get our diversity advisory committee kind of re-energized and back up and running. So, and he's just done a phenomenal job of that. And so Jason would be a wealth of information too if the City of Lake Stevens has questions or Now we can, connect you with all the documents that we have that Jason's primarily been responsible for setting up. And so I just appreciate the work Jason's done and appreciate him joining us here tonight. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we first formed a committee back in 2011, and it went robust for a few years, had a 2-year work plan. There was a diversity fair. They made some great suggestions to the city around how to have bilingual apps and stuff on our city website, so you could read it in different languages and web translators and things like that. We also were able to connect with the school district and join in on a lot of multicultural events and reach out to some of the underrepresented folks in our community and kind of make sure they were informed and felt welcomed into our community. Myself and the police chief and parks director and stuff would attend those. So it was a really valuable thing, and it really got us a nice baseline, I think, in this area. And then the committee, some of the members kind of got worn out, I think, and it kind of whittled down the membership. We only had a few people coming to each meeting, and they put themselves in kind of an ad hoc status for a couple of years, just said, hey, why don't we just meet as needed? And then, of course, the events here of the last year or so have really demonstrated the need to get this thing robustly back up and running. And that's where Jason came in. And I'll tell you, we have a 14-member committee, and we kind of capped it at, I think, 14, 15. And we had far more applicants. So, I know we have a lot of folks in the community that are involved in ways that aren't necessarily seated members of the committee, but just involved in other ways as well. But I'll tell you, this committee, Diversity Advisory Committee, now is really up and running with a really in-depth focus. One of the main charges is to advise the city on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which sounds a lot like what the Lake Stevens Friends of BIPOC group will be doing for you all if you form this commission. And I know that they have met with our police chief, our fire chief, and really worked on ways to coalesce around 4 main areas of focus, public safety being one, economic growth and prosperity, community building and inclusion, and city practices. And so some of those highlights include discussions with different communities and how we can establish more trust. We're also working through the recommendation of this committee and with the help of this committee on a Toledo Tribes, Marysville School District, and City of Marysville joint equity resolution that'll kind of align our efforts in this area to deal with some of the challenges we're dealing with, and also creating more integrated training amongst all 3 of these entities and opportunities to share resources and identify and address issues. They've put together a series of videos highlighting the importance of diversity in our community that we've been sharing on social media and others, and are planning to have some community forums to discuss some of the different key equity issues that we have in Marysville and in the county as a whole. We also, are undertaking, kind of at the behest of this group, some leadership, specifically training focused on implicit bias and cultural humility and things of that nature, which I think will really benefit the city staff. And then the last thing I wanted to address is just kind of a real specific focus on youth. And this was a proactive thing that we were doing, and that Jason really has led the charge on. And in light of some of the things going on in our school district right now, which you probably read about, it actually is coming at just the right time. It wasn't a reaction to that. It was already underway, but I think it will really serve to help the school district through this, and the community through some of the issues that we've had there. So it's a youth advisory or youth advocacy committee, and it'll provide some of our youth located in Marysville a platform to identify and address some of the issues and access tools and speakers and opportunities. We really want them to develop an understanding of relationships between cultural identity, community, and decision-making, and also expand leadership skills, kind of get outside comfort zones, and really help us develop solutions that promote an inclusive community. And our youth are really a great asset for that, and can really be an important part of this conversation. So that's kind of what we're doing in Marysville. Happy to answer any questions here or get you guys any information you need, but really proud to come and voice my support for Jessica and Lindsay and Carrie and Lake Stevens Allies for BIPOC. I would feel really, really confident in their ability to put you guys probably ahead of a lot of cities at the beginning, just because of all the legwork they've done. And they really, really have a good balanced approach to this, and I appreciate that. And so I'm happy to help support them in any way I can.
Thank you, John, so much. We really appreciate that.
Could I ask Jason if he had any, Mayor Gailey, could I ask Jason if he had anything to add real quick?
You bet, John, no problem.
Jason, did you want to introduce yourself? And then I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add on there.
Sure. Jason Smith, as Mayor Naring said, I'm the Training and Community Outreach Administrator for the City of Marysville. And just a few things that I would add to what the mayor is saying when you're thinking about putting this together. I mean, one key thing is that there's got to be commitment, from above all the way through. And one of the biggest things that can kill something like this is if, you make it just some secondary duty and throw it in some department that isn't fully behind this. And which we see happen because, we have limited budgets, we have limited people, we have limited time. And so it's not that people don't care, but it's just not a primary focus and things can fizzle out. The other piece is what we did differently than before is we actually had an application process, as Mayor Naring said, and really had people say why they wanted to participate and really put a little bit more out there than just turning into, hey, anybody can show up. You want to make sure that people are committed up front and the expectations are clear. And then I guess the last thing is in terms of meetings, it's a lot to meet every month to have a full agenda. And so we divided it up into meeting every other month and then having subcommittees meet in the off months to help build enough time and to help build enough information so people could stay excited. So overall, though, we've been able to stay engaged. And I think for the city of Lake Stevens, it's important that the lived experiences of the people of color are being heard, because often we look around and the general reaction might be, well, I haven't heard anything, so there's probably no issues, or, everything's been fine for me. But not having the actual lived experience of the people who are dealing with that's the challenge. So I appreciate your time, and I will be willing to assist in any way moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Good words. Jessica, what else do you have for us?
That is all we have. I guess we can open it up for questions if that's possible.
You bet. Let's. Does any council members have questions for?
I'd like to thank you all for coming and sharing us with the presentation. It was very well done. Thank you. Mayor Naring, I would also like to thank you for your words about the Youth Advisory Council that you have. We also are standing one up, actually it stood up, and a couple of our members of the Youth Advisory Council are in the attendees listening tonight. So hopefully, Lily, you are taking some good notes. She's the president of the Youth Advisory Council. So we'll be discussing those tomorrow night, I'm sure. And I look forward to whatever comes up. We'll see how we can deal with all this.
I do have a question for Mayor Naring. Thank you so much, Mayor, for your willingness to be here tonight and for sharing your experience. It's great to hear how our neighbor city to the north is addressing some of these issues. I'm curious to hear how doing this work, whether there's been significant city resources that you've had to put forth, or if it's required, additional budgeting, or what has been has there been a drain on your city resources, I guess?
Yeah, that's a good question. And obviously in these times particularly. So no, it has not. We honestly have not. I mean, we have Jason on board. So I think, and it's not Jason's full-time job, but I think you would want to have a staff person that kind of owns it as part of their portfolio. Again, not all of their portfolio, but have a staff person. And it could just be a staff person you already, I would likely be a staff person you already have on staff there. They could maybe bring this on, or I don't know what your situation is in Lake Stevens, but outside of that, I think grant dollars are so readily available that any of the activities that you want to take on by way of conferences or speakers to bring in, things of that nature, you can probably find through grants. We have not had to expend much by way of city resources outside of some small things, and of course, if you could count part of Jason's salary towards that. But I think it's fairly minimal for the benefits you get out of it.
Great. Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mary, go ahead.
First of all, I really appreciate that you said how important it is that the young people are part of this picture that is so critical. As a retired Spanish teacher. I believe in those kids and I believe in diversity. So this is really exciting to me. And I see huge potential for Lake Stevens. There are more people in this city than you might think who are people of color, people who have different heritages. And I saw Vildan Kirby in there. I know her. I didn't know she was involved in this, but it's a really, I see huge potential. And I think our city could benefit. And who doesn't need to be uplifted right now? It's been a long, rough road for all of us. And I do think that I am sorry to say I'm thinking of all kinds of things now. I don't have time to do this, but here it goes. I worked with many other groups. When I lived in North Carolina, we had a group that did this kind of work with the schools, and it was powerful and it was effective. And I worked with the Hispanic League in North Carolina, and they also worked with the kids in the schools. I see working through the schools, and I also think there's an interesting spin on this, and I don't know if Marysville is doing this, but we have a number of businesses in Lake Stevens that have owners who are people of other cultures. I know there's a number of Latino families who are running businesses in Lake Stevens. And I just think it would be interesting to go through the Chamber of Commerce and see if they can find us some folks that would like to jump in with both feet. So thank you so much. This is very exciting. And I'm going to try not to get too many ideas because I don't have time. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Just wanted to jump in and say thank you for coming tonight. Good information. I think there's a lot of useful information that I could use more on. So I look forward to getting more and being able to see what modeling after some of what Marysville's done, and hopefully we get a program going.
Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to echo everything that's already been said. I was looking to the side during the presentation. I was taking some notes, and the notes are really introspective for me. But I want to say thank you for the presentation. I know I met with the group at least one time specifically on the presentation, and we had some conversations around form a commission, form an independent advisory group, and what that looks like. I certainly follow all of the social media conversations, and there's a lot of informative information there as well. So really good presentation. Thank you, Mayor Naring, for being a part of it. Good job. I just want to say good job. Well done.
All right, any other questions for Jessica or her folks? Okay, so I think I'd like to echo the gratitude for y'all coming together. Great presentation, very solid. And I think what I'd like to do on a next step on this is meet with you, Jessica, and whomever else you would like there. And let's figure out a path forward on this. There's some good stuff here I think we need to capture and move forward with.
Mayor Gailey, would it make sense to add this to the agenda for next week's workshop?
Well, that's a great question.
Next week's workshop is probably canceled because we had nothing else on there.
Correct. So I'll tell you what, Angie, why don't you let me have some time with Jessica and her folks and see what our path forward looks like. And then we can bring it back maybe to the next workshop and talk it through as a council.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll be in touch with you, Brett. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Sounds great. All right. Thank you so much for your presentation, and we will move on the agenda. The agenda next is going to be citizens' comments. We've got quite a few folks out there. If you wish to do citizens' comments, would you raise your hand now? All right, we've got quite a few folks. So here's what we're going to do on this. I'm going to go ahead and go with 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes for citizens' comments tonight. how we do citizens comments is I will call on you. I'll see your hand raised there. We'll bring you into the panelist board. And at that time, if you would say your name and address, and I'll give you 2 minutes. When you hear the beeper of my very technologically advanced phone, that means you have 10 seconds left to wrap it up so we can move on to the next citizens comments. So with that, I will recognize Pam Summers. Pam, if Kelly, would you bring Pam in and then unmute yourself? Pam, go ahead and unmute and you have the floor. Pam, you'll need to unmute.
I am asking her to unmute, so hopefully she's getting a prompt on her screen.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
There you go, Pam. Go ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the presentation. It was really informative, and I am unmuted. Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Pam. Go ahead.
Asking her to unmute, so hopefully she's getting a prompt on her screen.
I'm as unmuted as I can get, so.
Pam, don't listen to YouTube. Go ahead. You've got
Okay,
the
good. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate Can you the turn that off? presentation. It was really informative, and I am unmuted. Sorry. We have two formats going at the same time, and I'm very confused. But let me just I'll wrap it up and say thank you very much for the presentation, and I really appreciated it. Thank you.
All right, Pam, great job. We'll get there. It's technology. Thank you. So let's have Joy Ratzel come in, and then let's bring in Robin McGee as well.
Okay.
Joy, go ahead. You have the floor. Joy, go ahead and unmute.
Okay. Can you hear me?
We got you, Joy. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I just want to say first, thank you for giving time for the presentation for the DEI&A committee. I am also a part of the Lake Stevens Allies for BIPOC organization, and I joined in a little later after the women already on the executive board started pouring their hearts into this project, and just to see their complete veracity through this process has been inspiring and amazing. But I want to say, of course, I am in support of this commission, and just something that April Berg actually talked about earlier in regards to COVID. She mentioned that everyone needs to feel safe locally to go out and spend money. I think a DEI&A commission would be right alongside that same thought. That's how important it is. And that's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Joy. Robin McGee, go ahead.
Sure, Robin McGee, Lake Stevens resident. So I'll make this really quick. I do want to thank Representative Lovick, Representative Berg, and Mayor Nearing for coming and speaking, giving us their time and attention, telling us what's going on, and absolutely the Allies for BIPOC group for an amazing presentation. It was very impressive, very informative. So I do want to thank you for putting that together. I'm again going to ask the council members here to please support a diversity, equity, inclusion, and access commission. These types of organizations make everyone safer. They make our community stronger. Our community is growing. It is important to make everybody feel safer and more welcome. Personally, I do want to live in a welcoming community in a city that recognizes the importance and the value of this commission that is actively working to make all of its citizens feel welcome. And I do look forward to joining neighboring cities who support those in marginalized communities. I think it sends a clear message that we value all of our citizens and we care about their well-being. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Robin. If we could bring in Nina Hansen and Elizabeth, I always Quailo, I'm sorry. Elizabeth, fix me on your last name, please, when you come up. Dr. Hansen.
Hi. Well, first of all, thank you for holding this meeting, and just the presentation was super clear. Just so you know a little bit about me and my family, we moved to Lake Stevens last year because we heard great things about the city, and we are a mixed race family. But I really want to share that both my husband and I are really looking forward to having a commission like this, so that not only people in our generation, but also our children have the space to be able to feel included and be a part of the community. So I really want to thank you for listening to the presentation and just being a part of the solution, right? As an Asian American person right now, as you all know from what's going on in the country, it's been a very uncomfortable experience. And to see that our city council and the members of this community want to bring us in and include us, it means so much. So I just want to say thank you. And I really hope that you all seriously consider this commission as a long-term investment into our community.
All right, thank you. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Quello. You did say it right. Good job,
right.
I've been supportive of the DEIA Commission. I think that presentation was fantastic. I know these women have been spending the last 6 to 8 months pouring their hearts into this, and there are a lot of amazing people in this community who want to push this forward and who will be great additions to sitting on the commission. And I really hope that you guys take the time to seriously consider this again, since we keep pushing for it. So hopefully when it finally comes to a vote that you guys will move forward on it. So thank you again for allowing them to have this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Let's go ahead and bring in Joyce Copley and Stephanie Meyer. Joyce, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
We got you. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Joyce Copley. I live here in Lake Stevens. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that did the presentation tonight. You did a great job, ladies. I'm very proud of you. When the ladies came to me and said they wanted me to be a part of this, I said yes, because I have taught in the past a class with D&I for the city, and John was there and we had a great time. Anytime there's an opportunity to build a bridge with the city, I am there. I've talked to Sean and I said, if I could save someone, I am there too. This work is important. We are better than that, Lake Stevens. We can unify, we can live together. I've been here 14 years and I'm not going anywhere. So let's learn to sit down and start to have these conversations so we can get past what we see, so we can learn to live together and really be one community around the lake. So I enjoy the city. I don't have a problem speaking up. I'm passionate about Lake Stevens because I care about Lake Stevens. So I am for this. Let's get the conversations going. Let's get something started. I'm happy to be an advisor and support this work in any way. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Joyce. Stephanie, you're up.
I am echoing the thanks from everybody before. I'm not going to take up a lot of extra time. There's just so many fantastic people here and wonderful proposals going on. Great to hear the news. So I'm in support of the commission as well. My family moved back here from Des Moines. My parents have lived here since the 80s. So I grew up in the Lake Stevens School District and went away for about 18 years before I came back. And honestly, it was really a hard decision for us because of the perceived lack of support for the BIPOC community and diversity in general. We have a lot of friends from the South End who are afraid to come up here because they've been seeing headlines from Snohomish and Everett and Marysville, and they don't know if it's safe to come visit us in our home. And that makes me really sad. And if outside members are feeling that way from the South End of Seattle, I wonder how our community members are feeling. And I feel like this commission, with a lot of feelings, I know that this commission would help welcome people and bring it back to where we all are a community instead of the majority being perceived as the community with others on the outskirts. Because yeah, it's important that we all care for each other and are aware that the BIPOC community has been hit hardest by COVID as well. So it's not safe for them, while the white community is not hit as hard. Even though we all have been affected by it, impacted by it in different ways. So I just hope you really take it into your heart and consider how others might feel and what they might be experiencing in this community. Many of my friends even moved away because they just didn't feel like this is where they wanted to raise their families. And I hope we made the right decision coming back and get to go into a new era that's not so colorblind and quiet about important issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Let's bring in Helen and Sean Bennison. Helen, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Helen Wong Taylor. I'm a proud first-generation Chinese American, born and raised in the Seattle area, actually in Bellevue. And fun fact, Councilmember Ewing and I found out we went to the same high school. So I'm just really excited to have made connections with different members of the council. I'm also on the library board. So I was able to meet and interview and speak to different council members over the past year over different issues. And I remember when I was first getting ready to move back to Lake Stevens last summer, there was so much discussion about the DEI training. And I know that the council was excited and ready to do that. And I know that didn't quite come to fruition, but I'm really glad to see that the council is now looking at the DEIA commission and think that this is a positive step. I was just thinking about the statistics that were shared in the presentation and realizing that 1 in 5 people in Lake Stevens maybe looks like me, maybe has an experience similar to mine, has been, feeling like a minority in a community. And it looks like maybe the statistics are actually going more to 1 in 4 people, 25%. So I just think that, this is a growing part of our community. My kids are entering school very soon, and I want them to be embraced, to feel welcome, to not have, some of the experiences that we've been hearing about, unfortunately, and seeing. I think one of the hardest things over the past month has been trying to explain to my children why sometimes it's not safe for us to go out, why people might try to hurt us because of the way we look. And I'm really, really appreciative of the allies for our BIPOC group that has been so proactive about reaching out, offering, anything from picking up groceries for me if I don't feel safe going out, to going to the grocery store with me if I need an ally. And it's hard to explain how great that feels. And I just hope that the city council takes into consideration that you can help make everyone in the city feel safe. You can help make everyone in the city feel seen. And I think that is a really worthwhile endeavor. So looking forward to a continued discussion on this.
Thank you, Helen. Sean, go ahead.
Yep, and my name is actually Scott Bennison, my wife Sean Bennison, but
that's right.
yeah, no problem. We live at 12121 7th Place Southeast, Lake Stevens, Washington, and we've been here about 18 years. I just kind of wanted to start by thanking the council for working so well on the ILA. I think that I'm also in support of the formation of that commission and having everybody, be kind of that one community around the lake. So as far as the ILA, I know they're looking at voting on that or possibly discussing it on the 28th with the county. And I know you're going to be talking later about a petition annexation. I just wanted to make sure everybody knows we're in full support of the ILA annexation method. And just really kudos to everybody on this, both staff and city council, and you, Mr. Mayor, the letter that you wrote to county council. I appreciate all that.
Thank you, Scott. Let's bring in the last three that I have hands up for. Let's go Kristen FW, Tina Kennard, and Kelly Guilfoyle. Kristen, go ahead. Kristen, go ahead and unmute.
Sorry. Thank you. I just wanted to call in and say that I really appreciate the presentation tonight. It was very thorough. I learned a lot of new information, and I do hope that the council takes that into consideration. I'm in support of the commission, and I think it's really important for the future of all of our youth, as well as people who are living here now, to talk about diversity and equity, and to know that the city takes those issues seriously. So thank you for listening, and I hope to see some action come out of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Tina, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I've been a teacher in this district for 25 years, so I really appreciate, Mary, your attention to our kids. And if you've heard some of the things they've shared with me, their white middle-aged teacher, about their experiences, you'd be pretty horrified. So I'm really excited about this. I hope we include our LGBTQ community members as well in a diversity commission. But I'm 100% behind you, and I have links with some local activist groups that could be very supportive and helpful as well. So thank you for getting this started, and let's not let go of it. Let's get it going. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. And Kelly.
Thank you so much for including this topic on your agenda, and the presentation was wonderful. I am also a teacher at Lake Stevens High School. I actually live in Snohomish, but my daughter will be starting daycare in Lake Stevens very soon, and I'm an active community member. I care so much about my students and their communities, and I know that this work would help them feel safer, and all of us feel more proud of our community in Lake Stevens. And after these past few years of reckoning, it's so apparent that this is something that we need right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. With that, I still have a hand up with Stephanie Meyer, but Stephanie, you have already spoken. So with that, we will move, or I've got another hand up, Sylvia Cohen. Go ahead, Sylvia. Let's bring Sylvia.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, late to the raising of hands, but I just wanted to jump in to say also, with the trend, in full support of the establishment of this commission. And additionally, I think it could be valuable to consider whenever you guys next meet to talk about this, whether it would be valuable to have some compensation for people who do join the commission in order to better promote the diversity that we're trying to look for in the commission, because we would ideally want not just those who have the time and resources to volunteer their time, but those who might need compensation for that time to share their experience with us. And so I think that could be really interesting to discuss if that would be possible, perhaps through grant funding, because I know that there was discussion of concern for funding that could be drawn from the city for this purpose. But I just think that could be valuable to consider, that people who come onto the commission would be providing a really valuable service for us, sharing their experience and their time. And so it could be, or I would believe it's valuable to honor that worth that they're giving us with some kind of compensation, if at all possible. Thanks.
Thank you, Sylvia. Looking over for any other hands raised. I'm not seeing any. How about you, Kelly? Do you see any?
Oh, I do not.
Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and close citizens' comments portions of the agenda, and we'll move to council business. Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to start with Council Member Peter Sagan tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Daughtry. Been a while since we met, but last week, the Planning Commission They have chosen to move forth with a public hearing regarding the marijuana processing discussion. And so we will look forward to seeing those decisions in the coming weeks. And also attended Sewer District Board meeting last week. Looking forward to our Utility Committee meeting on the 27th, I believe. And that is all. Great to see sunshine. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Member Frederick.
Thank you, Councilmember Daughtry. I would normally talk about the Youth Advisory Council, or actually, I would this evening, except I had to leave in the middle of the last meeting, so I'll leave it to you to give an update on that. I will talk about what I do normally talk about for about the past forever at this point, which is COVID. And I want to send as clear a message as possible to everyone viewing this. The numbers are going in the wrong direction. And I know that there's a lot of concern out there. It's really important that everyone take a proactive role in washing your hands, watching your distance, wearing a mask whenever it's appropriate, limiting those unnecessary gatherings. This really is about keeping individuals safe. But beyond that, it's also about limiting the economic impact that it has in our community. If our rates continue at the rate they are, by the next time there's an assessment, there's a possibility that Snohomish County could be in a situation where it's moved back to phase 2, and that has real impact to a lot of our business owners. So really asking that everyone take those appropriate precautions. If you're in one of the qualifying groups, and in 2 days, everyone over the age of 16 will be in a group. If it's in your desire or purview to get vaccinated, please get vaccinated. But most importantly, wear a mask, watch your distance, wash your hands, and let's all make sure that we continue to manage COVID appropriately so that we can keep all of our businesses going, continue to have all those things happening in phase 3 in terms of gatherings and schools and kids being able to be active. Please work with your fellow residents in Snohomish County in that regard. That's my update.
Thank you, Councilmember Frederick. Next, we'll talk with Councilmember Tagent.
Sorry, I had to unmute there. Attended park meeting last night. A lot of information. There's a lot of residents that are right there on 83rd who are not exactly excited about a dog park, don't know what is going in there and having park back there, and just issues that they are concerned about that come along with a park back there. So that was a long meeting, a lot of comments, a lot of information from the board, but it's a good meeting. Parks are really on the move. They're excited for the park season, and like Sean said, be safe out there with COVID stuff. If you can get a shot, get your shot. But that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Tagent. Councilmember Ewing.
Just a couple things. Want to echo what Councilmember Frederick said. I participated in the Health District meeting today, and I'm impressed with just the Health District and the work that they're doing to help with the COVID response, Dr. Spitters and all the members of the Health District. So thank you for what you're doing. Didn't get a chance to comment, but really impressed with the presentation tonight from our BIPOC folks. So thank you for that. And the Youth Council, I just want to say appreciate the hard work that's going into that for Councilmember Daughtry for his efforts to kind of make a lot of that happen. The youth have just been really impressive with their desire and their focus. And the site selection for Snohomish County for the State Department of Corrections is ongoing. They're still looking for a suitable site. And so there was further discussion today on that. That's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Ewing. Councilmember Dickinson.
Yes, I went to, of course, the senior center meeting yesterday and found out that they had their catalytic converter stolen from their bus again. So they're going to be doing an ask to the city to see if they could get a fence put around it. They really don't have anywhere to store that bus, and they would like to use it sometime down the road. They put a lot of investment in making that usable for ADA. So it was kind of a heartbreaker for them. But the good news, there is good news for them. They are going to be utilizing the raised beds in the community garden to help grow vegetables for their free lunches that they're giving out. Last month, they gave out over 600 free lunches, 600. Also to say, the park board meeting was really exciting for those brand new folks. Marcus, I thought the young people that had just gotten signed on to the board, it was pretty much of a trial by fire for them for the first time out, but it was very interesting. I thought it was great. Let's see, I think that's all I have to say. And what an exciting meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dixon and Councilmember Jorstad. I know you're all excited, want to say something. I could tell.
Really, I'm always excited. I always want to say things. Thanks, Council President Daughtry. Sean kind of stole my message. The Health District Board meeting was today, but I do really want to reiterate. Dr. Spitters was pretty clear that if the trends continue the direction that they will, we will be heading back to phase 2. So please use your position of influence to talk to your friends and neighbors and social media and let folks know that we really need to kind of buckle down and hang in there and keep our masks on and not gather. We really don't want to go backwards at this point. The other thing I wanted to bring to folks' attention, and I will send something to Kelly to send out to all staff. In 10 days, on April 24th, is National Drug Take Back Day. National Drug Take Back Day, I think this is the 5th year that the DEA is doing this, is an opportunity for folks to go through your medicine cabinets and your junk drawers and find those old bottles of prescription pain medication that you got when you went to the dentist 2 or 3 or 5 years ago, and get those turned in and keep them out of the hands of people who might be suffering from addiction issues. Millions of people every year misuse prescription pain relievers, prescription stimulants, and tranquilizers. A majority of misused prescription drugs are obtained from family and friends, often from home medicine cabinets or junk drawers. This is really an opportunity for our community to prevent drug addiction and prevent overdose deaths in our community. If you go to www.takebackday.dea.gov, you can put in your zip code and it'll tell you where the nearest drug take back location is located. At this point, there's only one location listed, and it's the sheriff's office in Everett, but new locations are listed every day. And I'm going to chat with Chief Dyer and see if we can get one stood up in a quick fashion here in Lake Stevens. But that's in 10 days. April 24th, Drug Take Back Day. I'll get some more information out to council to be able to pass out to the community. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Jorstad. I do believe that we, as Lake Stevens, did have it at the police department in the last 4 years.
Great.
So I would assume that we're going to do that again.
Yes, and there are also several pharmacies in town that have stood up programs as well.
Right.
Excellent. The site did say that new sites are being added every day. So check back often and go clean out your medicine cabinets.
All right. Well, I think then it's my turn. First, I want to talk about last night. We had the Veterans Commission meeting that we have every month, where we talked about several things. One is the council can look forward to a report from the commission here soon. We will be working on that report, try to get to you with that written report, staff report, within the next couple of months. Another thing that we hope to see soon, and I'll be talking with, well, I already did talk with Mr. Durpo about this, is that we'll be getting the Purple Heart signs up around town here pretty soon. I don't remember how many we found. I think we have 13 of them, so they'll be at all the entrances to the city. Public Works Director Durpo is getting his crew ready to do that. We already have the signs and ready to go. So leaving it up to him for his discretion on when that happens, because it's his people that are doing it, and we really appreciate that. Also stepping up our veteran-owned businesses, veteran friendly businesses program. So you're going to see more of that come into council to recognize those businesses. We haven't had one in quite a while. The last one we wanted to have, I want to say it was Task Properties. They never showed up. So I just got a tweak on Marcus there a little bit. And so you're going to be seeing that happen. And we have basically reinvigorated the commission to do some great things. So hopefully we're going to see that coming up and to fruition. If you would like, check social media, you'll see that there's a Veterans Commission coffee clatch Saturday morning at 07:30, where we're hoping some veterans are join us. We haven't been too successful with the coffee clutch right now because it's been virtual. We will be going live as soon as we can, as soon as Commissioner Frederick lets us know we can do this. And we're going to go live and have our coffee clutches down at the mill on Saturday, third Saturday morning of every month. The other thing I'd like to talk about that Councilmember Frederick brought up is the Youth Advisory Council. They are gung-ho and just starting to do some wonderful things. Lily is the president of that right now. She is on with us tonight. Lily, I hope you enjoyed hearing some things about other youth advisory councils. They are reaching out to other youth advisory councils in Snohomish County and elsewhere to get their take on what's going on. And right now they've been really, really active. They're meeting at first they met every week. Now I think we're meeting every other week. We have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow night, and looking for great things from the Youth Advisory Council. They have already discussed joining with other commissions. They are coming to the council meetings. They are talking about our agendas ahead of time. They will more than likely bring comment to the council on what they see happening in our agendas. And I look forward to that. Great group of youth in our community. And they've got some great things that they're going to try to accomplish. So look forward to some of those things. Other than that, community transit, as you're all aware, I'm the president of the board this year, and or the chair of the board this year. And we are looking at the same thing that the city is looking at. When do we bring everybody back to the office? And that's one of the major considerations going on right now. The other thing that we're looking at is our budget. Getting a lot of money out of this CRIS Act, things like that. We are looking really, really good at community transit for how much money we have and what we can do with it. And the biggest thing we're trying to do is keep our bus drivers safe. That's been the hardest thing. We had one of the first deaths in the county was one of our bus drivers. And so that's going on. And I think that's about it. That's all I have to report. Mr. Mayor, it's back to you.
Sean, did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to ask if Representative Lovick was still in the audience. No?
I don't see him.
No, both of them are gone.
Yeah.
He is a veteran, so was going to invite him to participate Saturday morning at 07:30.
That's a good idea. I'll reach out to him personally. And you should too. And we can shame him into meeting with us.
I just sent you guys the information on email, Kim, so you could send it off to him.
Yeah, I've got it. I'll send it to him. So yeah, we'll get him there. That's great. Great idea. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, President. And so Army guys will be there at 7:30, and having done more than most of you will do all day before then. So
nice try.
So with that, I've got a couple of things, and I want to talk about this proclamation that I have on the agenda. We are going to, I think we did it today, or going to do it tomorrow. We're going to put another board or put a board or two in the weir, and let's see. It seems like the lake is getting really low, and so we just want to start regulating it, making sure that our levels are going to be appropriate for the summer. I also wanted to recognize the youth in the audience. Lily, appreciate you being here. Please tell your parents hi for me. And I also wanted to also recognize that this week is National Dispatcher Week. So if you don't know who your dispatchers are, they're the great people who sit behind the phones and the computers that get the police officers and the fire folks and the medical folks and the search and rescue folks. They bring in all the information from a call, they put it into calls, and they dispatch those great people out to those calls. And I've had the privilege of working with just some of the greatest people known as dispatchers who have kept me safe, kept my friends safe in my time as a police officer. And I just want to thank them for their work and recognize that this week is their week as well. So with that, I'd like to go into a proclamation and a little background on the proclamation that recognizes April 18th to 24th as National Infertility Awareness Week. I was reached out by Miss Washington, who this is her cause, infertility awareness, about a month or so ago. And we talked about this, and I for my own personal reasons and for reasons that I know that there are so many families and folks within our community who deal with the issues of infertility, that I thought it was an important opportunity for us to recognize this within our community. So with that, I'd like to read the proclamation. I'd also like to read a quick statement that a friend of mine wrote, reference her challenges with infertility. And then I would ask that the council join me in this proclamation. So with that, whereas according to the CDC, 1 in 8 couples having trouble getting pregnant or sustaining a pregnancy, and whereas the World Health Organization and the American Medical Association define infertility as a disease, and whereas infertility affects women and men equally and does not discriminate based on race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, marital status, or socioeconomic level, and whereas the LGBTQ community also faces challenges when building their families, and whereas all people challenged in their family building journey should have access to all family building options, and whereas family building options include adoption and medical treatment, such as vitro fertilization and third-party reproduction, and whereas cost and lack of insurance coverage are barriers for many in our city to access the family building option they need, and whereas raising awareness of infertility and the barriers faced by the family building community is the first step to removing these barriers, and whereas Lake Stevens joins the National Infertility Association and dedicated volunteers, healthcare professionals, and members of the infertility and family building community by participating in this promotion. Now, therefore, I, Brett Gailey, Mayor of the City of Lake Stevens, do hereby proclaim April 18th to 24th, 2021 National Infertility Awareness Week in Lake Stevens. It's an interesting proclamation. It's one that I think is good for us to recognize within our community. I'd like to just read a few words, if you would indulge me on the time, of my friend Brittany, who I've watched her challenges over the last couple of years in trying to establish a family. And she wrote me this. I wasn't always sure that I wanted to be a mother. I had aspirations and wasn't sure that children were part of that plan. However, I got married and that outlook changed completely for me. I went from not wanting any children to wanting 3 or 4 kids. My husband and I tried naturally for 6 months, but we were referred to a fertility specialist and I was diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome. We are now 4 years in with over $50,000 in expenses. We've tried just about everything and have had multiple medications, ultrasounds, blood work, medical procedures, IVF, traditional adoption, and we are currently working on embryo donation adoption. We have not received any financial assistance from our insurance and have paid out of pocket for everything. We have been consistently questioning whether we will ever be parents along the way. Infertility affects 1 in 8 couples in the US. If you count the 8 people in the room with you right now, one of those individuals have struggled with infertility. I will forever advocate for the infertility community and fighting for resources and changes on a policy level for adequate assistance for families. And that's my friend Brittany. So I just want to leave those words with you as we look at this challenge. I'll also give this a personal flavor as well. I would like you all to know that Weston, my newest little guy, he was the last of a third try. So he's truly a blessing in my family. So I would hope that you would join me in this proclamation.
Well, I would move that we join in the proclamation of the National Infertility Association's Day of National Awareness, Week of National Awareness.
I'll second.
I'll second.
All right. Is there any discussion on that motion? Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much for supporting me in this proclamation. It's unfortunately a story told too often in our community, and hopefully we can do a little work on it. All right. With that, let's move to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion so that we did take off item D, so all we have is the vouchers on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion.
Wait a minute. Gary, did you have something you want to say? Oh, okay, sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? And I'll regress real quick. The city department reports, there was one written that's already in your packet. And with that, we'll move to a southeast annexation update from David and Russ.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. We wanted just to return to the council tonight and talk about some things that are going on with the proposed ILA annexation and some other annexations that the proposals that the city has received from some of the groups interested in the interlocal agreement. I'm going to hand it over to Dave to present the staff report, but that's the gist of it tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Russ and Mayor, council members, David Levitan. So we're going to be really brief tonight. We just wanted to give an update. As you'll remember, on March 23rd, the council adopted Ordinance 1112, authorizing Mayor Galey to sign the interlocal agreement for the Southeast Interlocal Annexation Area, which would annex in about 550 acres of land with about 3,000 residents, as well as the entirety of Lake Stevens. That was followed by the Lake Stevens Sewer District Board of Commissioners taking a similar action on March 25th. And so those are two of the three parties to the ILA, the third party being Snohomish County. Wanted to give an update to let the council and the public know that the Snohomish County Council has scheduled a public hearing for April 28th, where they will be considering the potential adoption of an ordinance that would authorize the county executive to sign the ILA. At that same meeting, they're also going to be considering some other options, one of those being potentially pursuing an advisory vote prior to moving forward with the ILA. This was something that was brought up during the March 9th joint hearing between the City Council, the County Council, and the Sewer District Board of Commissioners. So there are a couple different actions that they'll be able to take, and that's largely going to dictate how the potential annexation moves forward. If they do opt to adopt the ordinance to approve the ILA, the City Council will need to amend Ordinance 1112 just to basically update the ILA attachment. There's an effective date that's currently May 28th, which, given the delay, is not going to be feasible because it still needs to go through the 45-day boundary review board period. So we would likely push that out to early to mid-July. And the Sewer District Board would need to take a similar action. In the event that the County Council opts to pursue an advisory vote during the August primary, we have received a couple of direct petition annexations from property owners within the Southeast Interlocal Annexation Area. One from a group of property owners off of Southeast 123rd, just north of the currently under development Mountain View subdivision there, north of Machias. And another from a group of property owners
off of Southeast 20th, between Southeast 20th and Machias Cutoff Road, just west of 122nd Avenue Southeast. So both of those groups, they submitted direct petition annexations, request for those back at the end of March. Under state law, the city council's required to consider those within 60 days of their submittal. So by around the middle of May, the city council would need to take action on considering those direct petition annexation requests and basically authorizing them to move forward with the 10% petition request, and then moving that forward to where they're required to pursue and to gain signatures from property owners representing 6% of the property value of the annexation area. As Mr. Benison had provided during the public comment period, both groups of property owners have made it clear that their preference is that the Southeast interlocal annexation be approved. They would like to be annexed through that process, but they did want to basically have this in place as a contingency in the event that the interlocal agreement is not approved. So what we're proposing is to kind of follow these dual paths leading into the City Council's May 11th regular meeting. In the event that the County Council opts to approve the ILA at their April 28th meeting, we would bring back Ordinance 1112 to amend it to update the effective date of the annexation as it's identified in the ILA or in interlocal agreement. In the event that on April 28th they opt to pursue that advisory vote, we would bring back the 10% petition resolutions for both of these two groups of property owners and ask the council to weigh in on those resolutions. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
But David, it was my understanding that at least one of the groups already has a 60%. Is that true?
They do. For their identified area, they have about 60. They have property owners representing about 68% of the total property value where they already have signatures. They are still required to go through that initial 10%. You do the 10% resolution and move it forward. So yeah, they're basically, they are prepared for that 60% resolution. So they've already largely met that threshold.
Okay, thank you.
David, if I could, could you remind me how many acres does that 68% petition represent?
So it's pretty much exactly 40 acres for the one that is north of the Mountain View subdivision.
Thank you.
So David, what work does the city need to do to run concurrent application processes? Because I know, these two groups of individuals are serious about getting their stuff annexed so they can move on. We've dilly-dallied long enough. What does that look like? Yeah, so for May 11th, I mean, in advance of that, the resolution is not super complicated. We've obviously done some relatively recent direct petition annexations, and the staff report can be, at least especially for the 10% petition resolution, is pretty simple. So that's something that I can prepare and have ready for that May 11th meeting in the event that the county council doesn't approve the ILA on April 28th. And so it's not a problem. And if it is approved on the April 28th, if the county council does vote to approve the ILA, then we would essentially just, both parties have basically indicated that they would withdraw their petitions or just choose not to pursue them.
All right, do we have any other questions for David or Russ? Hearing none, thank you very much for your work on that, David and Russ. Good stuff.
All right, thank you.
We'll keep the annexation stuff moving forward. So with that, we have come to the finality of our agenda. I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Sounds unanimous. Have a great week, everybody. We'll let you know on the workshop. Right now, there's nothing on the agenda, so it doesn't look like we will have one next Tuesday unless something catastrophic pops up tomorrow. We'll put that word out. All right. Do good things in the community. Go help your neighbor.
Enjoy the sunshine.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.